of the enemy takes time. But over here, sir, we are seeing that they are buying weapons from left, right and center, and they have very bad intentions towards Pakistan also. And I think India is the only country in the world who has issues with all of its neighbors, all around India. Whether you're China, Pakistan, Maldives, Sri Lanka, we talk about even Bhutan now. Bhutanese government have been forced to recognize Israel to sort of have that kind of an engagement so that the Israelis can have some sort of a base in Bhutan to put a check on the Chinese. So this is not going to be something as simple as it seems. Could result into any sort of a hostile activity from either side, sir.
Well, Pastor Sahib, I think this is a very interesting question. That why on earth the world cannot understand that a Hindu religiously motivated nationalist government who is having the nuclear codes in the hand, and for them winning the elections is so necessary that they can even go on the brink of the war with Pakistan. So you need to unfold this mindset to the international community that religiously motivated Hindu nationalists in New Delhi are threat to peace. And we need to link that how this religion comes in. You were talking about the stereotypes. You were talking about that the beard, the hair, and how Narendra Modi is religiously motivated person who believes that every aspect of his governance policy, his political idea, and his foreign policy should come from religion. So I think the world has been targeting Pakistan. Oh, look, these Islamists have the nuclear codes in hand, and the Islamists will take the nuclear bomb. The world has realized how much Pakistan is serious when it comes to its national security, and how we have dealt peacefully and beautifully our nuclear assets. And the world accept that. We need to make the world understand that we have these religious fanatics on our eastern border who have the nuclear codes, and the entire leadership, be it the Rajnath Singh, be it the Amit Shah, be it the Prime Minister Modi or the Doval, they all are religiously motivated people, and they have everything in their hand which could be catastrophic.
All right. Last quick comment, 30 seconds comment from you, Ambassador Saab. Now the dirty role of the Indians that has been exposed in Afghanistan. Pakistan has done whatever we could have, and it's not that, we really need some sort of an appreciation from the Western world, but they do recognize the importance of Pakistan. Now, we have done whatever we could have in order to bring in peace in Afghanistan. But India has been playing a very, very negative role. I mean, you name it and they have done it. Anything that could go wrong, they would always, support that. Quick comment on that, sir. Do you think Pakistan has won that war of the Indian influence in Afghanistan?
The thing is, I wrote on one of my research papers just about 2 years back, and I said that whenever Pakistan and India would be talking, sitting across the table, the elephant in the room is Afghanistan. Both the countries will have to come to terms with it. Yes, Afghanistan, if peace returns to Afghanistan, with Taliban being one of the senior coalition partners, India will be the biggest loser. And that is the reason that India keeps on creating problems inside Afghanistan, and on the borders. You just see what's happened. The loss of life of 7 FC soldiers is all being done at the behest of Indians, and unfortunately maybe some rogue elements in Afghanistan. So we have to remain attentive. We have to remain on guard against such adventurous policies of India.
All right.
So let's hope.
All right, Kari Saab, thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure having you. Cheema Saab, thank you so much for your time. Rahim Saab, it was a pleasure having you, sir. And that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you again. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz.
Book is life. Book is hope. And and book is light for the future. Book is life. Book is hope. And book is light for the future. Welcome to PTV World News. I'm Sana Makbool and these are the headlines of the hour. Prime Minister Imran Khan says Modi-led regime in New Delhi wants to divert international attention from worsening human rights situation in occupied Kashmir through baseless propaganda. Prime Minister expresses satisfaction over the reforms introduced in the energy sector, says provision of relief to domestic consumers and uninterrupted supply of cheaper electricity to industries should be prioritized. Government reiterates resolve to continue anti-graft drive despite opposition's baseless criticism. Federal ministers say NAB laws have not been introduced by the incumbent government. Pakistan Air Force marks a major progress in its national air defense arsenal as it announced beginning the production of the state-of-the-art JF-1700 Block 3 fighter jets, while also acquiring 14 dual-seat JF-17 aircraft. A NAB court in Islamabad approves one-day transit remand of senior PMLN leader Khaja Asif in the Asif's case and directed to present him in the concerned court tomorrow. The National Accountability Bureau arrested the former defence minister from Islamabad yesterday. Britain becomes the first country in the world to approve a coronavirus vaccine developed by Oxford University and AstraZeneca as it battles a major winter surge driven by a new, highly contagious variant of the virus. Fawad Alam scores century after 2009, but all in vain as host Wayne Bayo will test by 101 runs and becomes the #1 side in the world after Pakistan suffers a dramatic collapse. PTV Sports telecasts the match live. Those are the headlines. For details and live streaming, log on to our website world.ptv.com.pk. You can find us on our Facebook page with the name PTV World and follow us on Twitter at WorldPTV. It's goodbye for now.
There are several practical measures you can take to protect yourself from the new coronavirus. One of the most important is regular, safe, and effective hand hygiene, using soap and water or alcohol-based hand rub. Here are the steps recommended by WHO to follow. You too can have safe and clean hands anywhere. Now I'm calling on the world to take the WHO Safe Hands Challenge to be ready for coronavirus.
Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farrukh Pitafi. We are more or less we are going to talk about the same issues that we have been discussing in the past many days, especially when you talk about PDM's politics. If you remember yesterday, People's Party, which is a member of PDM's 11-member alliance, they had their CEC meeting, and the reports that came out of that meeting, right now talking about what media reported, and the reports that came out were talking about People's Party refusing to resign from the parliaments, assemblies as well. And on the other side, it was also reported that People's Party is saying that if you want us to resign and if you want us to be part of any long march against the sitting government, then Mian Nawaz Sharif will have to come back to the country and join us. Otherwise, we are not going to do it. But regardless, then there were rebuttals by the political parties, by the People's Party leadership, who kept on saying that whatever media is turning is not true or perhaps not true. Then Bilawal Bhutto Zardari talks to the media and more or less says the same things. Even though it is understood that most of these things will not be aired in public, they will be tabled on the platform of PDM. On the other side, Khaja Asif, the parliamentary leader of PMLN, was arrested yesterday. The charges are about assets beyond means. It is said that he held an akama for 4 years, and between 2004 and 2008 he earned something like 13 crore 60 lakh rupees, that is 136 million rupees, and he hasn't been able to give the money trail. And despite that, when we listen to the PMLN leadership, most of the people were, particularly Mariam Nawaz, was saying that he was kidnapped or there was some kind of victimization that is going on. We are going to talk about all these matters, and then there is the question of dialogue. Is there going to be a dialogue, or there is not going to be any dialogue at all? And whatever becomes of PDM. We are going to talk about all these matters and more. In order to help us understand these issues, in the studio we are joined by Javed Siddique Saab, who is a senior analyst, senior journalist, anchor, columnist, editor, whatnot. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. On Skype we are joined by Qazi Ahmed Akbar, leader of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the ruling party. He is also representing the Punjab government. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. The third guest is Rana Ehsan Afzal Saab, leader of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. Thank you very much, sir. Welcome to both of you. Let me start with Javed Siddique Saab because he is in proximity and sitting with me. Javed Siddique Saab, whatever will become of PDM now, that People's Party doesn't seem to be going along with PMLN and Maulana Fazlur Rahman's agenda?
I think it was anticipated that the Pakistan People's Party is looking at things, political scenario, from a different perspective. And, it was being analyzed that the PPP may not agree to resign en masse from the assemblies, as is being propagated or propounded by PMLN and Maulana Fazlur Rahman as well. So I think in their CEC meeting, which is the highest forum of their party, they have decided not to resign from the parliament and the assemblies, and they should not leave this field to the government. And they must contest on all forums. They should continue to struggle at all forums, within parliament, outside the parliament. And that is, I think, the approach of a mature political party. And I must remind you that back in 2008, when Benazir Bhutto had been 2007, she was assassinated, and then the 2000 elections were being discussed between the People's Party and PMLN, and even then PMLN was asking for the boycott of elections, but it was People's Party which prevailed on PMLN leadership and convinced them that they must take part in these elections, and only then they agreed to participate in 2008 elections. So I think their strategy is to contest the government and to face the government on all forums. And I think
But don't you think that before they confront the government, they will have to confront PMLN?
I think the differences are there. How do they overcome these differences, these political differences in their approach? That is to be seen in the days to come. Some analysts believe that this is going to create a fissure or a kind of rupture in the whole PDM, the opposition alliance.
Right. I have to go to Qazi Saab as well, but let me first bring in Rana Ehsan Afzal. Rana Saab, it is conventional wisdom actually dictates or tells us that your voter is mostly pro-establishment, more patriotic, and anti-confrontation with the permanent institutions of the country. But your narrative, it seems, that is actually helping not your party, but it is helping People's Party, which looks better in comparison, because you are adamant on actually clashing with everybody, and People's Party all of a sudden does what it did yesterday, that all of a sudden they announced that they are not going to actually resign, or they are not contemplating resigning, and that's why your party looks bad in the end.
Thank you, Mr. Pitafi. First of all, People's Party has not announced that it will not resign, or they're not going to take that road. Bilawal was very specific in saying that all resignations have been submitted, have to be submitted to the party, and they already have been submitted to the party heads. So they are with the process and the schedule announced by PTM. Number two, we are also very patriotic.
Hang on. Because you are debating something that has been repeatedly reported on television. Let me humbly remind you that there was a very easy way to resign from the parliament, and that was to actually submit your resignations to the speakers of relevant assemblies. Instead, what is the point of collecting all the resignations? It only seems that you are seeking some kind of vote of confidence from your own party members, and it is some kind of, announcement of allegiance. Hardly anything more than that.
No, Pitafi Saab, when the time comes to submit the resignations to the speaker, it can only happen if all the PDM parties are on board. That's okay. Number one, for that to happen. So obviously this was a preparation stage. We are not, this is a phased process, where we had announced the first phase, where our narrative, we were taking the narrative onto the major cities of Pakistan, and the second phase was street protest, and then it is the last card to go for the resignations, and this was just a preparatory move before actually submitting the resignations to the speaker. So obviously we were going to have a preparatory move. For example, if we were to announce that submit your resignation to the speaker all at once, so we would be showing our last move. There is a lot to happen before that as well. There are many.
Okay, so you honestly think that People's Party is going to resign from any assembly at all?
The People's Party they need to answer their own question, but we feel as of now that they are complying with the PDM's call to submit resignations to their party heads, and when the time comes, that's
an interesting take, because from the report, of course, when you can of course say that People's Party has not publicly stated that it is going to differ from the judgment of PDM, but with due respect, where there is smoke, there is fire, and the reports that are coming from within the CAC meeting, they are very clear where People's Party is going. Let me bring in Qazi Ahmad Akbar Saab. Qazi Saab, you are listening to the input from other participants. A big question, because we heard Shibli Farrukh Saab, the Federal Information Minister, as well, that government wants to hold dialogue, but it will be within the parliament. The two people whom you could actually talk to, particularly opposition leader at the center, and then parliamentary leader of PMLN, Khaja Asif, they are incarcerated right now. Who do you think you are going to talk to then?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Farrukh, thank you very much. And I'm thankful to Rana Saab, because he's exactly endorsed what the spokespersons of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf government have been saying for the past 2.5 months. And that is that they have to bring on board all the parties of PDM as far as the resignations issue is concerned. Going for a mass movement conducting jalsas is something which we believe is a democratic right. But the biggest challenge which I could perceive could have become for the government was if the PDM had gone for the combined situation of presenting their resignations. But we were very sure this is not going to happen because they have not been on the same page. Mr. Zardari's speech that day was very, very clear on the fact that he was not happy the way, the direction that the PDM had taken. Rather, he wanted it to move it to some other way. And then the meeting in the CEC of the People's Party, it was clearly, the dissent was shown by most of the members who said that we don't have to follow what PDM says, but we need to make PDM follow what People's Party wants to say. And the way, unfortunately, Mariam Bibi was following throughout her visit of Gadi Khuda Bakhsh, it was just like a senior student leading a junior student. And when I say a senior student, I refer it to Mr. Bilawal, and when I say a junior student, I refer it to Mariam Nawaz.
Regardless, I understand and I respect that you have commented on what was said earlier. But Qazi Sahab, my question primarily was about dialogue. And here's the rub, here's the concern that one has to actually flag here. That right now you keep on complaining about Mariam Nawaz and others, but people like Shehbaz Sharif who were ready to actually reconcile and talk, you refuse to talk to them either. So at this moment, whatever is happening is the consequences of your choices. How will you rebut this charge?
No, it is not that it is only the consequences of what we have been doing. Basically, the Prime Minister of Pakistan has been very clear from the day one that we are not going to, we are ready to hold a national dialogue, and we are ready to hold that national dialogue on a national forum, that is the National Assembly of Pakistan, minus NRO. So it has been proven over the period of time that whenever it has come to the situation that the government and the opposition have taken a few steps toward dialogue, the opposition move has mostly come towards asking for an NRO, be it through the NAB amendments. Now they have been proven what they wanted and what they asked during those amendments, be it through any other way. Every time a dialogue situation has come on, they have asked for the NRO. So the Prime Minister and the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf government is, Farrukh bhai, very clear. We are not going to talk on NRO. If their whole leadership gets incarcerated, everyone is behind the bars. That is our mission. That we have to bring the looters and the plunderers, and we have to bring them not only into the court of people, but we have to put them behind the bars, and we have to ensure that the law of land is equal for everyone in Pakistan.
Right.
So yes,
with due respect, very quick reminder, Qazi Sahab, it is not your party or your government who is putting people behind bars. There are institutions which are concerned with accountability, which might be doing their job. If you agree, if you concede that it is you who's doing it, then you actually bolster the opposition's concerns, right, or their narrative. But regardless, at this moment, I am going to take your reply as a no, a clear no to the idea of dialogue. Is it true?
You ask me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are not going to hold any dialogue with PDM. But if it is in the national interest, we are ready to do it. But if it's for NRO, there's a big no, there's a big no, there's a big no.
Right. And this is quite interesting, Javed Siddique Saab. I've been pointing this thing out in past many programs that both major parties, part of PDM, they claimed back in 2007 that they have learned from their experience, their mistakes, and now they are not going to repeat 1990s. But once again, we see a situation where the ruling party sees the opposition as merely thugs and thieves, and the opposition keeps on claiming that the government is not legitimate government. In that kind of a situation, polarization, are you not reminded of 1990s? So who has learnt any lesson at all?
I think you're right. It is true that the country's politics is highly polarized and fractured.
Okay.
And the positions of government and opposition are far away from each other. So, on the issue of dialogue, I believe that the opposition must put forward the agenda for dialogue. If their focus is only on the issue of accountability, then they should clarify that they want dialogue with the government on the issue of accountability. But a dialogue is basically, it should revolve around the overhauling of the political system, democratic system, election commission. Accountability can also come under that, but I think primarily that the political system of Pakistan needs reforms.
Okay.
It needs, for instance, the basic need here in Pakistan is to democratize the political parties themselves.
Right.
So they should.
And I get what you're saying, and this is a very good point, that there has to be dialogue because we are a democracy.
Yes.
But with due respect, in a hung parliament, when the two legitimate actors, the government and the opposition parties, they refuse to even acknowledge each other as legitimate actors, and it is a hung parliament, is it not true that we are taking the system to the breaking point?
Of course, and this has happened in 1977.
Okay.
When the Pakistan People's Party, led by Mr. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, was facing the opposition 9-party alliance, the PNA, Pakistan National Alliance, and they had stretched the dialogue too far, and almost for 5 months they were not able to conclude those dialogues, and the military intervened and martial law was imposed, and it was the most draconian martial law in Pakistan's history, and ultimately Mr. Bhutto was hanged. I think we must not move to that direction, and we must not allow things to go to that pass. I believe that the two sides, they must pause and try to bring about some kind of reconciliation in their position, and then
reconciliation.
Reconciliation means
through a national reconciliation.
Reconciliation means that they should try to narrow the bridge.
Bridge the difference.
Bridge the difference. So
absolutely.
And I think the other thing is that if this continues, I mean this stalemate continues, it invites the intervention of some third party. And you know who the third party is.
I don't know that. You'll have to qualify that. Yes. But let me actually go back to Rana Ehsan Afzal Sahab. Rana Sahab, once again, yesterday when Khaja Asif was arrested, at that time the narrative of your party was of victimhood, that you are being victimized despite the fact that Shahid Khan Abbasi, the former Prime Minister and a senior leader of your party, was allowed to go to Washington and his name was removed from ECL. So there seems to be some kind of reconciliation, but sir, with due respect, when there are charges against your party members, how difficult it is to actually come up with a money trail and an explanation and engage on those charges rather than only portraying yourself as political victims all the time. Khaja Asif Saab's money trail should be very easy if he has been earning through consultancy fees.
Pitafi Saab, can Imran Khan give the money trail of how he built Zaman Park in Lahore? It seems that at least 15 crore were spent, but no one is investigating that, and his income statement does not show how it is possible that he made it.
Regardless, let me ask that question. Let me put that question to PTI as a representative. I believe that you are representing PMLN. So you'll have to give me an answer regarding your party, not PTI.
No, I will give you this assets beyond means is a very generic way of arresting the opposition members. And during investigation, he does not need to be in jail. He won't be impacting the investigation. Why do you have to
There are two concerns. Rana Sahab, let me explain. One charge is very clear, and it is about asset beyond means regarding 136 million rupees that were earned in 4 years. That is one aspect, and then there is an account of one Tariq Mir, who was an assistant of Khaja Asif Saab, and millions of rupees were transferred to his account, and there is no money trail, and it actually came from Khaja Saab. So these are very clear charges, right? Why not actually focus on them rather than playing politics on everything?
I think Khwaja Asif Saab will himself represent on this case. What I can say and suggest is that the tax culture of Pakistan is not that mature. And you know, if I make a statement on your program today that 99% of the businesses in Pakistan might be using double books or no books and might not have audited financials, I will not be wrong. So in such a scenario, you can arrest each and every citizen of Pakistan for assets beyond means, because the system of taxation and reporting of your income and your asset declaration is not so mature in Pakistan. So does that mean everyone is a thief?
I don't know about others. I can say with great comfort that I don't have double books. Whatever I have is declared. But sir, with due respect, hang on. The concern is two wrongs never make a right. I mean, in order to prove, if I am to accept your argument that there might be double books, you have to have two books. At least one book should be shown. There is no record at all.
I am not saying it is correct at all. I am not defending it. I am just telling you about the tax culture and filing of income tax in Pakistan. I am telling you what is prevalent, and I am saying that it should be corrected. We should move for that, but using that as a tool to penalize the opposition and putting them behind bars for months and years and not even filing a reference.
Right, but with due respect, someday everybody will have to answer for whatever they are accused of. Let me go back to Qazi Ahmad Akbar Saab. Sir, first question that you have to answer is regarding Zaman Park that was raised by Rana Hassan Afzal. If you want to actually clarify something, please do, and then let me ask you another question.
Farrukh, first of all, you know, if we talk of political personalities, be it Mr. Imran Khan, or be it Mr. Nawaz Sharif, or be it Rana Saab or myself, we are basically responsible, and we are public figures, and a situation, a scenario of a public person, a politically exposed person cannot be compared with a business enterprise. A politically exposed person is liable and is bound to give each and every asset and its sources and means to the public, because he is a public figure. So someone like Khwaja Asif Saab, who has remained a minister of so many times, we end up seeing his property going up 3 to 4 times, and then as we discussed about one of the companies, that 40 million rupees were transferred into that account and there are no sources available. So I think Rana Saab should have focused more on the fact that where did this amount come from, rather than focusing on the fact that how the income tax system in Pakistan works. And as far as he's talked about the Zaman Park House, I fail to understand what he is pointing towards. Probably he needs to clear it more, because that's the property that was inherited by the Prime Minister himself. So it was not bought by him. So
there shouldn't be any problem. And in any case, let me actually go back to Dara Sahab very quickly. Dara Sahab, we have to clarify, because before Imran Khan Sahab became Prime Minister of Pakistan, to my knowledge, he never held any public office, with the exception of one time as an MNA. And MNA, being an MNA, he was never hardly in government. So there doesn't seem to be any kind of confusion about that matter. What did you mean by Zaman Park? It was inherited.
I'm not talking about the land purchase. The house was rebuilt by a cost of more than 15 crore rupees. But his income tax return does not show that he has such an income. So that should be investigation. That is the allegation. And what about
again?
I would like to give
sir, with due respect, the kind of accusations that are there against PMLN's leadership and what you are actually leveling against PTI are humongously different. But let me come back to Qazi Saab. Hang on. Qazi Saab, let me ask you very quickly before I come back to Javed Siddique Saab. You have a hung parliament at the center, and it is really hung. And then you have even more hung assembly in Punjab. How do you plan to conduct the business of state if you are not going to hold any dialogue at all?
Farrukh bhai, I'll come to your question, but first let me just make one thing very clear.
Yeah.
I'm a builder myself, so I would like to ask Rana Saab that at what rate and with how many canals of constructed area has he considered when he says that it was rebuilt with 15 crore rupees? You know, even the highest cost of construction rates are in the capital in Islamabad. And even if today you are planning to build a 1,000 yards house here in Islamabad, you cannot exceed, no matter how lavishly you spend, you cannot exceed 7 crore rupees. So
the number doesn't matter.
So I think this is something which is very baffling and has no basics to it. Now coming to dialogue thing. Farrukh bhai, I totally agree with you. Any democracy that has to flourish, any democracy that has to deliver, and when I say deliver, the highest onus comes on the government itself. So dialogue is a must. We all need to sit together. We all need to legislate together. We need to run the business of the house together, be it in the National Assembly or the provincial assemblies.
Okay.
So yes, dialogue is a must, but again, you know, it seems pretty difficult because we can talk on anything. We can talk on, we have done it. We have talked on the FATF legislation, haven't we? We have talked on the NAB ordinance, haven't we? We have talked on the national issues. We are always open to that. But we cannot talk on giving them an NRO. We cannot give them...
with due respect, Qazi Saab, when you're talking about FATF, that actually brings back bad memories because there was some bad blood between various parties, the government and opposition, regarding the demands, the expectations, and what was being accepted or offered by the government, right? So it wasn't actually quite a dialogue, so to speak.
Yes, there was a dialogue, Farrukh bhai. We ended up, you know, in a situation where we all voted for that particular bill.
No, but that was not because of the dialogue. That was because of the extraneous, factors. But let me go back to Javed Siddique Saab.
No,
Javed Siddique Saab, is there a way? Qazi Saab, I'm going to come back to you, sir. With due respect, I will. Javed Siddique Saab, is there a way to actually lessen the temperature and end this bad blood between the two sides, sir? At all?
For the time being, they have taken extreme positions.
Right. For the time being, 2.5 years?
No. I mean, whenever, ever since the PDM has emerged as an alliance.
Ever since PTI came to power?
No, but there have been discussions going on, and they have legislated together in both houses of the parliament, and there have been dialogue, I mean, at the political level within the parliament, and on the issue of the extension of the Chief of Army Staff, there was an agreement. So I think they have shown that they can coexist, they can legislate, they can talk. But ever since
there has to be pressure from a third party.
Pressure or the pressure of the circumstances.
Okay.
So currently, the
coronavirus is there, economic misery is there.
Yes, it is.
But the country is facing India, which is exceptionally negative in its outlook, and there are other existential concerns as well. So shouldn't they be talking to each other?
Yes, they are. But the PDM, the alliance that has been created against the PTI government, their agenda is focused on one issue, and that is accountability. They think that the PTI government is only targeting the opposition leaders and the opposition parties in order to put pressure on them and to keep them in line with the government policies. So I think that's their position now.
Okay.
And they want some kind of relief in this accountability process. And that creates problems.
Okay.
So if the
want relief.
opposition, if opposition
They
broadens,
want relief, but they don't want to acknowledge that they want relief as well.
they don't want, they are not saying this, but in fact, in the garb of this opposition, in the garb of this protest movement, their basic objective is to get some kind of relief, some kind of
But
soft
let us talk
treatment.
about the individual actors, right? Maryam Nawaz, Maulana Fazlur Rahman, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. When you look at these individuals, are they actually pushing for some kind of concessions for their families and their politics, or they are actually fighting for their own political survival?
No, I think basically they all are hit by the accountability process.
Okay.
They are in the grip of the NAB cases, and I think they think that their position, they're being pushed to the corner.
Okay.
And in one case, if they get the bail, they are arrested in another case. So there is a plethora of cases in which they find themselves in, and therefore they want that some kind of relief should be provided to them. Now they are saying that the NAB laws should be changed, and on this FATF issue, whatever the position was taken by opposition was to change the laws of the NAB.
Okay.
So I think even before that, when the PPP and PMLN had power in their hands, I mean their governments were there, they had started a discussion on amending the NAB laws, which they failed to do. And now they want the NAB laws to be changed because they want to get out of the clutches of the NAB.
And that is an amazing concern that both these parties, ARD parties, People's Party and PMLN, they actually vowed that they are going to amend NAB law, and they never did it despite staying in power for 10 years. Jana Ehsan Afzal Sahab, the question right now is that 5 years ago, if I asked you, you would have said that assemblies should complete their terms and a democratic government should survive and nobody should actually try to bring them down. And you used to present, your party used to present themselves as the champion of democracy. And today, the very same parties want to bring down an elected government, a parliament which is there, elected, and where they have a sizable representation as well. Should it not be considered contradiction?
Well, Pitafi Sahab, it's not just the election which was stolen, but before the elections, 1.5 years back, before the elections, a witch hunt started, in which our Prime Minister and the government was destabilized by a conspiracy. And that conspiracy...
Before we talk about conspiracy, you say that 2018 elections were stolen, right?
Yes.
Were 2013 elections also stolen?
No, they were not.
Were 2008 elections also stolen?
No, they were not.
2002?
Yes, it was one of the biggest robberies of elections, yes.
Right. So you see a pattern here, sir, that in every election the party that lost kept on saying that elections were stolen, and this time because you lost, you are saying this as well, and you see conspiracies.
There is a history to it. The Jeep election symbol was allotted. NAB was working at bullet speed. The Prime Minister was taken down. He was not allowed to be president of the party. The Balochistan government fell. So, there were many things which led to where we are.
With due respect, the then Prime Minister, before he was Prime Minister, went against People's Party's Prime Minister in a court. He wore the garb of a lawyer, and then he went for Memogate issue, right? And similarly, it was your petition that basically brought him down. So, is there really a conspiracy, or it is merely political parties doing what they do best to actually bring each other down?
No, I feel that, the narrative that we've given in PDM has trickled down, and if you conduct a survey, even in Punjab, any street, people will tell you who is running the show, in actuality in what is happening in Pakistan. So I believe the public at large has bought this narrative. I would like to comment, if you allow me, on the NAB ordinance that they say that we want an NRO. You know, it's a sad fact, Pitafi Saab, that when whatever the opposition brought, it was in the parliament. And in parliament, you don't get an ordinance, you get an amendment, and you legislate. And if, for example, let's assume that if that debate would have continued, it would have continued in the committees. And you can give pros and cons for each amendment that the opposition was proposing, or, you know, if the government was proposing. So, and then at the end of the day, if that process would have been completed, the majority lies with the government in the parliament. So, I think calling it a NRO, that the opposition wanted an NRO from the parliament.
I understand what you are saying, sir, but with due respect, look at your own party's narrative. There was a conspiracy to bring down your Prime Minister. Even though that entire story broke in the Western press, not in the country. You say that NAB chairman was against you, and it is your party which actually nominated and appointed him. You'd say that elections were stolen, but it was your party's Prime Minister who appointed the Chief Election Commissioner as well. Is there going to be any measure of self-accountability as well someday by PMLN's leadership, sir?
Pitafi Saab, the reality of this country is that democratic parties, I agree, are not so democratic within, but they are fighting a fight for survival. Okay. You know, they are being attacked. People are moved from left and right. So, I mean, we are way behind when you talk about democracy. And when you talk about self-introspection, the first priority is the survival of these parties. They are being killed.
Regardless, political parties survive if they are democratic. Unfortunately, we keep on talking about democracy in the country. We don't look within these parties whether there is democracy or not. But once again, Qazi Ahmed Akbar Saab, since we are talking about all these matters, the question once again comes back to your government. I mean, regardless of what opposition does, because you are in the government, the onus of reconciliation will remain on the government. At the center, in Punjab, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as well, and even in Quetta or Balochistan. The question right now is there even the remotest possibility that your party can convince itself that it is going to talk to the opposition leaders as if they are legitimate actors, not mere thugs or thieves?
Yes, once again, the perspective of the government, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, as a political party is very clear. And we want to indulge into a dialogue. And when we offered that dialogue...
I'd like to call it indulging.
And when we offered that, the opposition parties, you know, they again took it as a weakness, and they started talking about within their speeches on the stages of the PDM, and they said that now the Prime Minister is asking for an NRO. So technically speaking, I believe that there's a matter of egos that is barring both the sides to, you know, sit and indulge into a dialogue for that matter. But I think we all need to understand that dialogue is the only option. We are very clear on the fact that they are not resigning. We are very clear on the fact that the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf government is going to stay here till its mandated time. And yes, Alhamdulillah, we are very clear about the fact that the coming 5 years are also of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf government.
Right. So, there are moments when your party makes all the records of being generous. You allowed unprecedentedly Mian Nawaz Sharif to actually walk out of prison and go abroad. Then you have also removed Shahid Khaqan Abbasi's name from ECL and allowed to actually go him abroad as well. Let me ask you, is there a possibility that you will show similar kind of generosity for Shahbaz Sharif, the only person who seems ready to talk to your party or your government, sir?
Farrukh, we've already made a big mistake, and we let lose Mr. Nawaz Sharif and we let him go out of the country. I think this was the biggest mistake, and this actually hurt the basic narrative of accountability that the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf government has been talking about before the election.
So you can make mistakes while you allow firebrands to go abroad, but you will not allow a person who is for reconciliation to at least come out of the prison.
Mr. Shahbaz Sharif is here. He wants to talk to the government, and let's see. I hope that we'll be talking to him soon. And but first of all, you know, the party itself have to decide.
How will this work? Will you send somebody to go and meet him in the prison like Durrani Sahab met him?
I think Maryam Nawaz was very clear about that on this fact also. She said that whoever wants to Mia Saab, they can always go and openly meet him. But if the family has to meet them, they have to wait for weeks.
Right.
So I think it is very clear that everyone is there. Everyone is, that place is open for him to meet. And anybody from the government or anyone someone who is trying to sort of, become the facilitator in this context, everyone is open to that, but let's see how things
I'm told that we have run out of time, so let me thank you for your participation, your valuable time. Rana Ehsan Afzal Saab, thank you very much, sir, for your precious time as well. Javed Siddiq Saab, always great having you in the show. Viewers, you have listened to our participants. These issues will continue, but with due respect, when you are listening to the narrative of the opposition parties, and they are talking about democracy as if it is a lost virtue in the country, you have to ask them, why is it that their own parties don't have that kind of mechanism inside themselves, right? We need dialogue in the country, and I keep on pointing out that there can be very great adverse effects of not talking to each other. But while we are talking about talks, let us talk about ourselves as well. Should there be some measure of self-accountability, or everybody who is criticized for doing something wrong is just going to say, no, I didn't do anything wrong at all, and the other party is totally flawed and rotten to the core. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.
The Badshai Mosque, or the Royal Mosque in Lahore, commissioned by the 6th Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb in 1671 and completed in 1673, is the second largest mosque in Pakistan and South Asia and the 5th largest mosque in the world.